like to thank everybody for coming to the greatest Rotary Club in the world, the Las Vegas Rotary Club. I'm back after a 10-day road trip. I'd like to start with the song from my first album. No, I'm kidding. But it's great to be back. You know, as we start November, this time of year is kind of, I get these feelings of not melancholy, but mellowness a little bit because of the holidays and the family time and the changing of the seasons. And as I think about that, I think about all the wonderful things that we do as Rotarians. We give to so many organizations. We provide a lot of help with food, with our food drive, with Santa Claus and the clothes that we provide. But oftentimes, there are some people maybe within our smaller circle of friends that need help. And in my president's message, I shared, just look around, you know, among our close friends and family, somebody that may need just a few more seconds of our time, a few more, our interest just a little more, that maybe needs a hand up. You never know, right? And so just look for those opportunities, because, you know, I was taught a long time ago that love is spelled T-I-M-E. In order for us to truly love, we need to invest our time. And with that, I'd like to start with our patriotic song, Sidra Kane, if you want to come up, and then our Tarby Bryant before that is going to offer our invocation. So Tarby, you're first, come on up, followed by Sidra.
Will you join me in prayer? Our Father and our God, we are truly thankful for the fellowships and friendships of this Rotary Club and other Rotarians around the world. We're thankful that Rotary believes in service above self. We're thankful for this Rotary Club and its mission statement, teaching youth to succeed through literacy, education, and life skill development. We're thankful for the corporate and civic leaders of this city, like our speaker today, who believes that education is much better than ignorance and realizes that education is not learning, but is an exercise in the development of the power of the mind. We're thankful for the food before us today, for those that prepared it, and for those that will serve it. And we're ever thankful for the many blessings. And all God's people said, Amen.
Okay, we're going to do America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
Isn't she lovely? Great. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Great. Bob, you got 10 minutes. So we got other stuff going. Okay. I'd like to thank everybody that helped make today happen. And number one, actually, we got to tell you, Sean has given me the evil eye. We've got to RSVP, guys. I want to say we had 45 people RSVP, and we probably have over 60. and they'll prepare 5 over. So they prepared meals for probably 50 or 52. So RSVP, please. Okay, next thing. Want to thank everybody that helped make today possible. From setup, we had Barbara Castro, Kathy Mayon, Carolyn Sparks, and Bhavin Singh as greeters. Sergeant of Arms, Jared Kavanaugh. Jared, are you ready? You're going to start walking around. Come on. Okay, Marie Walsh, as always, collecting money in the back. Our superstar. Well, actually, we've got a lot of superstars. Bert Reiner, are you here? Bert and Susan Zielber are going to be tearing down and cleaning up at the end. They could always use a little help. Our song leader, as you saw, was Sidra Kane. Charlie Bryant offered our invocation. And our photographer extraordinaire, Mr. Jim Tucker, my friend of about 40 years now, and Nancy Anderson. So let's give a big hand to all the people that helped today. Okay, I'm going to introduce our visiting Rotarians and guests. So let's start with guests. Anybody that's not a member of Rotary that is a guest, we have right here. Bob is standing up, but I guess we're starting with Stu.
Okay.
Oh, yes, welcome.
I want to introduce my friend and neighbor, Tom Ritchie. He's retired from the Air Force, I think, back in '76. And turns out he served the same location as Bob Warner. So have some people
Isn't that
there.
amazing? Welcome. Is it Bob Ritchie? Tom Ritchie, sorry.
We have an international
Oh, excuse me for not recognizing.
from Canada. Does anybody remember his name? Oh,
Murray!
Murray. Oh, we're going to make him a citizen of the best Rotary Club in Las Vegas. What do you think?
I think so.
You got something
Welcome.
to say or not?
Well, yeah, I love this club, but I'm going to give you a little hockey, a little note from last night's trade that the Vegas Golden Knights did. Being a former scout for the Calgary Flames, I did an evaluation and getting Jack Eichel from Buffalo. If you remember the draft, Connor McDavid went first and Jack Eichel went right behind him. And he's a great center. And when he gets his vertebrae fixed, which can be done right here in Las Vegas, come March, April, I think you're going to see that he'll be a star on this team.
Great.
So I'm happy. I might have to go to a few more games.
Okay. Any other guests of Rotarians, non-member
This
guests?
is our go-to for hockey.
Great. We got a bunch over here. All over. Okay. Tina, walk around.
No, I know they're taken care of. They'll be introduced where they are, but we have 2 guests on Zoom, Rich and Angela Domingo, and they are visiting us. Hey, they're visiting us via Zoom and are interested in learning more about the Las Vegas Rotary Club. So be nice.
Welcome. Okay, over here, raise your hand if you're a guest. Nancy, who do you have?
I have the pleasure of introducing actually 2. One is Allison Wexler, and she comes from a family of Rotarians, and she's already submitted her application.
Welcome.
Okay, and then Chelsea McDermott. Why couldn't I think of it? I know it. And this is, I think you submitted your application out. Are you? First of the year,
You
she'll
got
be
it.
doing it. She's
Great.
come to us too. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. Hold our applause till the end, please. Sidra has a guest.
Actually, I've been asked to introduce Nareg right here, who is a guest today of Rotary, but this is his last time as a guest. And next time you see him, he's going to be a member of Las Vegas Rotary. This is Nareg.
Great. Okay. Is that all our guests? Visiting Rotarians from other parts of the world or country? One more guest? Okay. Raise stand up if you're a guest that we haven't recognized. No, Carrie's a member. I know it. Actually, she's on our board.
This is Antoinette Monroe, and she has submitted her application and will be inducted very shortly.
Awesome. Thank you. Great. Okay. Now visiting Rotarians. Do we have any visiting Rotarians from other parts of the country or the world or the city? Okay, seeing none. Great. We've got introduction of the birthday table. We have a bunch of November birthdays. Why don't you start? What we'd like you to do is say where you were born. You're welcome to not include the year you were born, but the day at least, and then how long you've been a member of Rotary. Sure.
Let's see, I was born in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We left when I was 3, moved to Southern California, and that's where I spent my growing up years. I am 74 on November 18th.
Just pass it around.
Well, I'm Tony, sometimes Tina, depending upon who you're
Oh,
asking.
yeah, that's me.
Born in Los Angeles. I will be 67 on November 30th. Yay. Looking for 70 and started in this club in 2017.
Great. Awesome.
Okay, my name is Adam Homey. I couldn't pick a better day than today to make a grand reappearance after a year of being on the planet of Queblius, which is where I'm originally from. My spaceship crashed here 45 years ago and I lost my 2 tickets to paradise. Moved to Las Vegas in 2013. I chose this city and I chose Rotary in 2019 and well, let's do it again.
Great. Thank you very much.
Afternoon, Tom Thomas. Well, in 1957, since my mom didn't want to have her babies at the only hospital in Las Vegas, UMC, I was born in Salt Lake. But I was back here 2 days later. So I'm a lifelong Las Vegan.
You're not a native. You're not a native.
Not a
Sorry to
native.
say it.
I don't claim it. That's cool. And this is my 33rd year in the Las Vegas Rotary Club, which in Masonic terms is a big deal. So I'm right there with the 33rd degree.
Great.
Good afternoon. My name is Walt Parrish. I was born in Burbank, California. I am now pushing, I don't even want to tell you, but I am pushing 85. Of that, 40 of them were with the Fresno Rotary Club, and the next segment is in the best Rotary Club in the world. Anyway, thank you so much, and let's get on with the program.
Thank you. I'm Anil Melnick, and I was born on November 28th, 1966 in Madison, Wisconsin. And I've been a member of this club since 2013. Thanks.
Great. 8 years.
Hi, I'm David Talanian, and I was born in North Hollywood, California. And I've been in Rotary since about 2 months. 2 months.
Yes.
Hello, fellow Rotarians and guests.
Yay,
It's Russ Swain here, past President Russ Swain. And, you know, I was born in San Francisco, California on November 12th, 1961. That means I will be 60 years old next Friday, and each and every one of you are invited to my house next Friday night for a birthday party. I sent a bunch of invites out, but if you didn't get one, I just gave you a personal invite right now. So I joined this club in October of 1994. So I've been a member for 27 years and I still love being a Rotarian. So grateful to be here.
Western High graduate.
And you know, I arrived in Las Vegas, by the way, on a DC-9 1 week after I was born because my mom and dad, Rusty and Phyllis Swain here, adopted me prior to birth. And thank God for Catholic Charities, flew me over here when I was a week old, and I've been here pretty much the rest of my life. Yeah.
Super. Welcome. Hey, any other birthdays? I think over here. Oh, our prospective member. Hurry, Jared. Come on. Hold on, Jim, because we're gonna add one more when she's done.
So I'm Antoinette Monroe. I was born November 18th in Glendale, California, and I am old enough to know better and young enough to not care as much. So thank you all for having me.
Great.
Oh, and I'm not a member yet. I'll be inducted apparently soon.
Come on over here for a picture, please.
Oh.
We're gonna add her into the pictures. Okay, everybody. Oh, we got another birthday. Oh, my goodness. And then Sidra, you might as well make your way up over here to sing to them.
Hi, everyone. My name is Narek, prospective member, hopefully being inducted soon. I was born actually on Veterans Day, 89. So
89, really?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man.
32 next week.
Yeah, I could
So-
go. Welcome, happy birthday. Okay. Oh, Rich Robledo. We're gonna have to fine you for not sitting at the table for as long as a member you've been.
Russ Swain took my seat. I'd like to find him. Rich Robledo was born in Texas, been a member since 2003. The greatest gift Rotary has given me has been my wife and the friendship and fellowship that you guys have given me.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. And Rich is running for president of the United States. No. Okay, look at that. I think that's the most we've ever had in a birthday picture in a full table plus like 3 or 4. Yeah. God. Yeah. Great. Thank you for that. Okay, Sidra. Here's Sidra?
Thank you.
Start it.
Okay, so join us. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you.
Okay, that was a lot, and we've got some announcements to go through. All of you that are giving announcements, they got to be short. Okay, we're going to start with the recap from Karen Wisenhunt. Karen, raise your hand. Okay, and then we're going to follow by Rose. Where's Rose?
Just a
Right here.
quick recap, the family of Rotary met for lunch on Friday, and we had a great event and updated all the ladies on the upcoming events.
Hello again. On behalf of Carolyn, who's not here today, I want to thank everybody who attended our Halloween party. We had a blast, and Pam Samolis won the best costume. You should have seen her.
We have pictures? How did I not get pictures?
Mike Mewborn, hello, where did he disappear to? Oh, there he is. He didn't send them to me.
It's
So
okay.
he took them with his phone. Anyway, she was dressed as the Mad Hatter and she went all out with the makeup on her face. I don't know how
Right.
she did it, but anyway, thank you. And I have a bunch of extra Halloween candy there. So please take a little pouch home. Thank you.
Okay. Brian Sorrentino. Come on up. Actually, I think Brian and I are going to do this together.
Oh, yeah. Wrap up on the Concord. I met with Stuart yesterday, the gentleman that found the event. He graciously gave us a check. I can hold on. Okay, you hold it. Okay. So we earned this year, we earned $13,090 for the event. For the first shot. There's a lot more to come in future years. We had a good wrap-up meeting. We have a lot of ideas, and that number is going to grow dramatically. Thank you all for your participation and help. He was thrilled with our work as Rotarians. There's a lot more to do in partnership with that event. And that event, although they were lightly attended this year for a variety of reasons with airline shutdowns, all the hotels and all the other stuff going on. It was extremely well received by the exhibitors. They all want to come back. The sponsors all want to come back. They got rave reviews internationally already. Lots of inquiries on how to do it again next year. So more to come.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Warner.
Well, we aren't the foundation of the year for nothing. We have proved that we are a great foundation. But I do want to say our president has stepped up. You know, we don't just need money. We need you guys. What is it that you did?
So several of us have already set the example. I'm just the next one in line, but when I did my estate planning, I put the Las Vegas Rotary Foundation as one of the 4 charities that I'm giving a significant portion of my estate to.
Thank you. Well, we take cars. If you got any cars left over from the show, we take anything that turns into our better foundation.
As President Mike mentioned, love is spelled Time. So for Santa Claus, the first Thursday in December, December 2nd, we need more volunteers. We need about 150 more volunteers across the 3 locations. So this is something past President Jim Hunt didn't tell me. This is the stressful part. So please reach out to work colleagues, people at your church, temple, synagogue, anybody, your knitting group. We need more volunteers for Santa Claus. Santa Claus is where we shop for needy kids and provide them with much needed winter clothing.
Hi, I'm very excited about this announcement. December 1st, if you guys can mark it on your calendars. We used to do this before, we're gonna bring it back. We're gonna plant a tree at Alora Deering December 1st, and we're going to present a plaque to Mike at that school. And there's a garden club that's gonna be a part of it, and they're gonna plant the tree for us. And so it's gonna be a pretty exciting day. So if you guys can make it, it's December 1st. It's gonna be at 2:30 on a Tuesday.
Fellow Rotarians and most welcome guests, I'm pleased to tell you that tonight we have a grand meeting of our 25 club at the home of Bert Reiner. And if your name is not on our RSVP list, you will not be able to get into this meeting. Flyers and directions are on the table by the badge boxes. But most importantly, I'd like to ask you to give of your heart and not give of your time, but give of a little bit of money out of your pocket and also your social media. Please, we need you to help us sell tickets. We have sold 62 of 300 tickets. We can't pay our prize or even produce food money for the Salvation Army if we do not sell those 300 tickets. We have a 2-week push, and I need you all to help push it out on social media. There are flyers up by the badge boxes that have a QR code on them and the website address that you can give to your friends so that they can take part in this opportunity to win $5,000. 300 tickets. It's very good odds. The tickets are $50 a piece, and I really need your help. I mean, we've got 2 weeks to push this thing, and only 25% of the members have purchased a ticket at this point. Thank you.
She wants me to do it still. Okay. Hi, everyone. Ooh, that's loud. Just a reminder, our holiday party will be on the same day as Santa Claus. I mean, holiday party. Not thinking, sorry, thank you. December 2nd, 6 p.m. Yes, until 10 p.m. Make sure when you RSVP, whether it's in the green book or if you email Sean, that you please identify which entree you want. Without doing so, we won't have the proper food. So please do so. Also, business and cocktail attire. We're going to have raffles. We'll have a live auction. As far as the raffles, we also need auction items. So if you have something that you can donate, please see Janice or myself or someone else for your auction items. And we're going to have a new feature. It should be fun. Grab bags. You pay $20 and you're going to be surprised at what you get inside. Also, there will be a live band and a photo booth. So everyone join and you'll see the loop from the day of Santa Claus and enjoy the holiday and enjoy with everyone else.
Thank you, sweet Jesus, for having everything be okay. And my arm is missing. Thank you, sweet Jesus.
Hey, we have a dwindling deck of cards here. And the pot's getting higher. It's probably over 3,000. What does it say in the 2,800? We're normally collecting more than 200 a day. So the pot today is over $3,000. And for your right to half of that, the other half goes to the foundation. We're going to call up the person who bought ticket number 812-4347. 4347. And I'm shuffling the deck. Do we have a winner? Matt? Oh my goodness. Sean, did you take the joker out of the here? Oh, there it is. Let me shuffle it up. Just had to make sure there was a joker. Okay.
Welcome back, Michael. It's really nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you. Now I should find you. He sold us a piece of land. He made a nice commission on.
We did. We were able to eat yesterday.
Yeah, right. Okay, ready? Nothing. Nothing. Rip it out. Rip it out. Got it. Thank you very much. Here's $10 for the privilege to do that. Thank you. Now we have $50 in Lowry bucks. Ticket holder 812-4192. 4192. Winner, winner. Stay there. I'll deliver them to you. Okay. I would like to introduce our speaker now. Shortly after meeting John, I called him a hog. John and I played high school football at Chaparral High School. And in 1977, we had the privilege of winning the state championship. And he was a guard, not just a normal guard, but I think he was an all-state guard and quite good at what he did. And I was, that year, I was the little guy on the team and didn't get to play much, but I got to watch them and he did great. And I don't believe you were born here, but you've lived here the majority of your life. Is that? Yeah. And been here a long time. He worked at Valley Bank for years and has been almost 40 years in banking. But I knew that he was involved in education. He was involved with, and I just knew it and I just forgot it. Public Education Foundation, Judy Steele's organization. And my mom used to work for Judy Steele back in the day, and lots of little connections here. But he and I had a meeting. He runs now the Nevada operations of one of the largest banking organizations in the country. And we had a meeting with joint venture partners of mine from Texas. And then we started on this conversation about education in Clark County in Las Vegas. And I saw a passion and a knowledge, and the content that he shared blew me away. And he had a lot of interesting ideas, interesting insights into what's been going on in the Clark County School District and education in Southern Nevada. And I asked him if he would speak to our club. Please help me welcome Mr. John Guidry.
Two things about Mike before I move on. It's not true that he didn't play much. As a matter of fact, the most memorable play of our state championship season, he got a nickname for it. It was a kickoff and he was making a tackle. Shortly after the guy hit the ground, Mike went headfirst in, caught him in the side and threw a 15-yard penalty for a personal foul. And forever after was known as Spear Ballard. So if you ask anybody from our team, they will not know him as Mike. They will know him as Spear Ballard. And Mike's a great guy. I've known him a long time. Appreciate him and you all inviting me here. The second thing I'll say about Mike is now that you know you're one of 4 benefactors in his estate, if he dies from any unforeseen events that cause his death, you're going to be on that list of suspects. So make sure he lives a long, happy life and dies in his bed, in his sleep. I was looking at your agenda and I saw on November 24th next week that Superintendent Jara would be speaking. So I want to come back for that if he shows up. I really want to hear that one. So what I thought is when Mike asked me to do this several weeks ago, maybe a month ago, my comments were going to be vastly different than they are today. I'm going to keep my comments relatively short and try and make this more of a back and forth dialogue because I'd love to hear what your thoughts are and be able to respond to any questions I can answer. When I think about the Clark County School District today, I think of a Jerry Springer episode. I mean, we're in the entertainment capital of the world. It's very sad that we're in this state, but it is also highly entertaining. So at least take it for that value that we get every week some entertainment out of the Clark County School District. Unfortunately, it's become very costly entertainment, and it's time for us to fix it. So I'm going to give you a couple of analogies, entertainment analogies of what I think is wrong, and then I'm going to really open it up for your discussion. Many that watched last week's school board meeting or read about it in the paper drew their own conclusions. So let's start off with just a very informal poll. How many of you feel like the problem in the Clark County School District is the Board of Trustees? Lots of hands. How many feel it's the superintendent? Couple. How many feel it's the legislature? How many feel it's the governor? How many feel it's all of the above? Okay, I'm speaking to my audience then, because it is all of the above. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and then we'll go to some Q&A. So if you use the entertainment analogy in a Springer episode, there's an executive producer. That's the group. That's the person or group that's putting the money up for the show. We'll name the governor the executive producer. A good executive producer puts the money up, kind of gives some expectations, and then the rest of the group, the cast and so forth, carries out those expectations and hopefully produces a good return. Return has not seemed to be a motive for this executive producer, or frankly, prior executive producers. The motive seems to be more control. And if anybody has watched disaster shows like Jerry Springer Show or disaster movies, I'm not going to name all of them, but good example would be Pearl Harbor. I think they spent more money on that movie than any other movie ever made, and made about 10% of it back. What they found is the people that put the money up wanted to have too much control over the process. And that's not unusual in a political setting where politics become the policymakers as opposed to the administrators being the policymakers. So I think we started off with a bad executive producer. We can throw in the co-producers, which I would call the legislature. They're the ones that kind of decide, how much money they're going to put into it and where it's going to go. Same problem there, too much oversight, too much involvement. I'll give you a couple of examples real quick. 2015. So, this again is not one party, one politician, one group of politicians. This is the system. 2015, very different governor, very different legislative group decided that we needed to fix education. And one of the ways we were going to fix it is through funding and control. And so we passed a $1.2 trillion business tax bill. So we funded by the business community. And those dollars were then dictated on how they could be spent. And there were lots of controls around those dollars. In hindsight, I could tell you some of the problems in the not producing the results is we put too many controls in there and gave very little room for the administration to be accountable. And basically we gave them an out. So if we fail, it's because you told me how to spend the money and you put too many conditions on it. So one of those buckets of funds, if you remember this latest session, we did a revamp of the funding formula. It was a 50-year-old formula, and the district and many of the union representation wanted to see us fund dollars into categorical buckets. So they wanted money for special needs. They wanted money for Title I students, for English language learning students, and a variety of other categories. Well, that was actually done in 2015, and dollars that were funded from those new business taxes went into those categorical buckets. Unfortunately, because we're not consistent in politics, it messes up policy. So we fast forward 4 years later, one of those categories was the Opportunity Scholarship Fund. So $21 million from payroll tax, which was an increased tax on a variety of businesses in the state. $21 million could be reallocated at the direction of an employer paying their payroll tax to the state. So if you had a payroll tax of $1 million and you said to the state, I want to take that $1 million and put it into the Opportunity Scholarship Fund, up to that $21 million, any employer could do that. Once we hit that cap, then it was closed out. That resulted in 2 years later, 2017, 2,300 students from families that were at 300% or less of the poverty level, so which today is about $79,000. Those families could send their children to private school or use those funds for other education purposes, clearly defined education purposes. So about 2,300 students were using it. And there were private schools all over the valley that were all over the state that were discounting their tuition to allow more at-risk kids into their schools. So I would consider that a success, except 2 years later, 2019, so the students started using it in 2017, 2019, change of governor, change of legislature. What happened was the 21 million was cut back to 10, so 11 million was cut out of that budget. And there was language put in the new bill that said, if a student doesn't re-up and use those funds, the funds go away. So we basically phase the program out. So I would say we are owed an explanation by that legislature. Where did those $11 million go? And why were you phasing out a program that was successful? What ultimately happened is about 1,300 kids got pulled out of that program. So they were successfully going to private schools and then couldn't do it anymore because they didn't have the funds for it. So this is why politics and policy don't mix in education. And it's part of why we have problems in education all over the country. We're not the exclusive bad case of how to run education. I could give you literally hundreds of examples. I'll give you one more. So now you throw in the special interest in politics, in this particular case, labor. How many of you know there's 4 unions that represent our workforce at the Clark County School District? I know we have a Clark County School District person here, so we have a couple hands up. So there's 4. The one we most commonly hear about is CCEA, Clark County Education Association, primarily because they're the most vocal and controversial. But ultimately, those 4 unions have a lot of clout in Carson City, and they want to see certain things happen. Unfortunately, a lot of those certain things don't always align with what they should align with. So I'm going to give you my opinion of what every policy, every political decision should focus on, and that is one basic 2-part question. If I do this, will it improve student outcomes, and how? If you can answer yes, and you can give a legitimate how, a measurement of how it's going to improve student outcomes, then do it. And that goes for anything. That goes for teacher pay increases, teacher incentive, that goes for additional funding in education, but there needs to be accountability. So when we funded a $1.2 million going back to 2015, there was not measurable accountability. And then the bar continued to lower. So in 2019, again, different group comes in, and the unions of special interests say, we want to make sure that our teachers don't have a really high bar to clear. So their high bar then was 35% of their evaluation was tied to student outcomes. So their performance evaluation, 35% was tied to student outcomes. I thought that was unbelievably low, since that seems to be your primary job. Unfortunately, the legislature didn't, and they lowered that to 20% the following year, and it is now 15%. The argument they made, I know because I sat in testimony and then testified against it, the argument they made was at 35%, we were almost the highest in the country. In a quick Google search, I found there were 12 states that were 50% or higher. So I said, can we just come in and say whatever we want, or are we under oath here and we have to actually tell the truth? And the reality is they come in and say whatever they want. So my feeling is that what happened last week is certainly a problem, that we have no standards to be elected as a trustee. You basically pay a $20 filing fee and run for office. And if you get selected to do a job that frankly requires you to sit in front of a lot of people on a regular basis and get yelled at, sometimes until 1 o'clock in the morning, and you get to make like a whopping, I don't know, $7,000 or $8,000 a year for that privilege. It's people that really sincerely either want to do this or they have political ambitions to go beyond it. What we really need to do is set standards for trustees and make sure that they have expertise in areas that they are responsible for. So now we come back to the education analogy. It's the responsible for part that everybody seems to get confused over. So there's multiple examples of trustees whose primary responsibility is to make sure that they are putting in place a framework that the district's supposed to work within, and hold them accountable to meet those, that, to stay within that framework. It is not to run administratively the day-to-day decisions of the district. Unfortunately, too often they kind of cross over those boundaries. Great example of that. Last summer, in July, school district has a meeting. One of the primary topics is, do we continue 100% distance learning, or do we start to bring students back into the classroom? Superintendent, I won't name names, but you can go watch it if you want to, said on the record, well, we have a lot of students that have no connectivity to the internet or no device to connect to the internet. About 70% of those students didn't attend class either regularly or at all in April and May and early June after the pandemic shut the schools down, and acknowledged that those same students likely would not be signed on come August or September when the schools opened, and then voted to go 100% distance learning. And if you go back and watch it, you'll see this crazy banker going nuts, sending messages back and forth, because you couldn't talk, you could only send a message saying that I just hear a trustee say we're going to be in violation of state law providing equal education to all students, and then vote to not provide equal education to all students. Unfortunately, I did. So instead of being the governance group, they want it to be the administrators. They want to run the district. Conversely, multiple examples of the superintendent, and part of which got him into the hot water this time and ultimately got this on the agenda, or I don't know, maybe the chicken and the egg one came first. But ultimately, part of what got him in hot water was there allegedly, and I believe that this is factually correct from some sources I've talked to, there was discussions ongoing between the superintendent and members of the unions in a collective bargaining way without the district's attorney present. Unfortunately, if those allegations are correct, that's a direct violation of the policies of the district and possibly of state law. It's not uncommon. I've seen this, and I like the superintendent personally, but not just the superintendent, past superintendents. I've seen this overstepping of their responsibility. Their responsibility is to fall within the guidelines of either the state or the board and operate within those guidelines and manage the day-to-day operations. There's too many people wanting to make too many decisions that they're not authorized to make. So my opinion, and you'll hear a lot more about this as I close, but my opinion is you have all stakeholders in this, and that doesn't exclude us as a community, but all stakeholders that have a role, and those stakeholders need to understand what their role is, and we all have to hold each other accountable to that. There's been no accountability. This has been for decades. This is not something that just happened overnight. It's been a long time coming. And so we need to set some standards and hold people accountable. And to that end, after last week's debacle, I called somebody that many of you in the room may know. Her name's Jana Wilcox-Levin. Jana is with a group called Opportunity 180. They're an organization that works with administrators all over the country. They are probably the most knowledgeable group of people that I've met with that understands what is and isn't effective in running large public school systems. And that includes not only districts, but also charter schools. And I said, Jenna, where do we go from here? I mean, do we just keep doing this over and over again, the definition of insanity? And she said, no, I really think we should do the following things. And she laid out a really well thought out plan, which was much less reactionary than mine, which was, let's just blow this up and start over, or divide it up, or, you know, and she got me to think about the process she was thinking about, which is, let's do a thorough analysis. And I'm not going to steal her thunder. She's going to be talking to a group of business leaders in different associations and organizations around the Valley, the chambers, LVGA, some stakeholders in education like Public Education Foundation, Council for a Better Nevada, and some very large association groups like the Nevada Resort Association and others, with the objective of kind of laying out what should the next steps look like so we don't keep repeating this insanity. And then seeing if we can get common ground with that group to say, we'll support this direction, this plan, start to develop it into action plans with dates and timelines, and then start recruiting others that are stakeholders that would be interested in seeing this happen. I'm starting with the business community, and now the chamber is asked to take on the responsibility of the Metro Chamber. of running this, but all the chamber of at least administrating this. So I'm more than happy to hand that off to them, and they will. And others will have lots of input in it. But at the end of the day, this is a community effort. So as we start to develop this, the goal would be to get more and more players involved. And I was talking to Tom Thomas before the meeting, and Tom made a really valid point. If you want to get something done politically, you want to get something done as an activist, you have to cross both sides of the aisle. You have to get people that have a stake in seeing, both parties, education, all the players succeed. But also that's very firm in their expectations and saying, look, we're spending a significant amount of money to get very poor results. And if there's more money needed, then there's more accountability required. And ultimately, that accountability needs to come back to that basic question of, does this improve student outcomes? Are they prepared for work, life after education, whether that's secondary education, high school, or post-secondary of community college or further education? So that's my quick synopsis. I'm sorry it took a little longer than a quick synopsis, but it's a really big mess. But I do think that there's lots of areas that need to have attention, and it's not going to be an overnight fix, and it's going to require a significant effort on the part of a lot of people and organizations to back it. So I was telling Mike, I think this is something that your group should be part of, and we should be recruiting more groups like yours, so we get more and more voices in this discussion, and we ultimately have one united voice on what we expect to have happen, so that our students don't suffer anymore. I got involved with education 15 years ago because I was raised by a single mom who firmly believed the difference between us having any chance of success or not is to get a good education. And she didn't let us watch TV. We had to read books all the time. So I don't read as much as I should now. I think I'm rebelling against her. But I look back and think, I really appreciate that she instilled in us the importance of that. And I see too many children that don't have that guidance. They don't have that support. And as a community, we can't afford to let them continue to slip further and further behind. So if we're going to close the societal gaps that exist, I think the solution to most societal problems in most communities is give all children a level playing field and encourage them to be as successful as they can possibly be wherever their skills lie. And we don't do that today. So we need to fix that. So I'm going to stop and see if anybody has any questions or any direction they want to go. Bob.
Hold on, Bob.
Mine's kind of a two-part question. Last week, we had the Nevada Mining Association here. Do you think that the money now, under my understanding, is that money's going to go, that tax money is going to go directly to the school system, education system, rather than to the general fund? Will that make a difference? And you think we are going to be able to make these changes in time before they waste that money?
So are you asking, is it going to go directly to education like the marijuana money did the first time around? I hope so. Yeah, we actually, there were two initiatives that I was working with a local education advocate, a woman named Valeria Gurr, who is just an incredible woman. She's been very active in pushing the agenda of school choice. And there was zero budget dollars available in the last session to get us back up to 21 million in the Opportunity Scholarship Fund. And the charter schools were also pushing for a more level playing field to get capital budget dollars. So charter schools previously got $0 per student in capital. They got operating budgets that were comparable, not exact, but comparable to the public school system. They're public schools as well. So they, frankly, were being shortchanged. And so the mining industry was willing to have a conversation with us about directing a portion of their additional funds, their additional tax dollars, to refund that additional 11 million in Opportunity Scholarship. And we also were able to get 15 million for charter schools to use for capital budgets. The downside to that is it's a 2-year commitment. They took it out of the CARES Act funds. They didn't take it from the mining funds, but at least it got the dialogue going. And it gives us an opportunity to prove over the next 2 years that those funds are being used by families that need them and students that need them. And then we'll go back and have that battle again at the next legislative session to try and get those permanently funded. So long-winded answer, yes, I think that it will improve education. I'm not one that says we are already funding at the levels we need to. I'm also not saying that we're not. What I am saying is that there's a significant amount of waste, and not necessarily in the classroom where I think they are shortchanged. It's more in the support areas. In 2015, if you want some light reading to help you fall asleep, I served on a commission, the SAGE Commission. Our job was to take a look at spending efficiencies or inefficiencies in public education, K through 12, and the state. We primarily focused on Clark County School District. It's the largest portion of the budget. And we submitted in that plan what would likely be $150 million a year in savings while improving support services, things like transportation, food service, facilities maintenance, and construction and the like. I don't believe a single legislator read it, or the governor at the time, or anybody in the school district, or any of the trustees, because when I've talked to them about it, they act like they don't even know what I'm talking about. So if they would just take time to work with the community who really wants them to succeed and listen to some suggestions, and these are not ideas that we came up with. They literally were a model from Houston Independent School District that I learned about through my brother, who's an attorney in Dallas, who represented them when they went with this model. We were just saying, replicate the model. The contracts are already there. The process is already there. The person that ran the process came in and testified, and then our bank hired her to work with the district for a week to get, best practices, and they didn't institute anything. So it's hard to want to say put more money in education when the money that's there now isn't being used wisely. But I don't want to come across as saying that we're funding education where we need to be. I don't know that that's the case, but I really feel like you got to fix the holes in the bucket before you throw more money in the bucket. And that's, I think, what we need to, this needs to be one of those requirements, those conditions that we put in place.
Yeah. So thank you for having us address this really important topic. So you asked us to vote on who might be responsible, and you didn't include among that list the children. And
I did say others, so yes, but
yeah,
yes,
all right.
you're right.
Others, that covers it. We have 6 schools that we've adopted that we give time and treasure to. They're virtually identical in terms of demographics and being tier 1. We have one of the best performing schools in the county, and we have one of the worst. And I've been a substitute teacher across a dozen different schools in different grade levels. And I would submit to you, the problem is the discipline in the classroom and the leadership, because the schools that are performing really well, the kids are under control and they behave. And there are others when, as a substitute teacher, I've been attacked at night point. And that's got to be something to do with the overall administration of each of those schools. So
yeah.
The problem, I don't blame the teachers, and I don't blame the superintendent or everything else. The local leadership in the school seems to be the issue. And that's the people who should be held accountable.
Yeah, and listen, I am not saying that anybody's fault was here. I didn't mention parents either, and I think what you just described is lack of parenting in a lot of cases. Parents, there are a lot of parents who just feel like it's the school district's job to raise their kids, and that's just a wrong-minded. I mean, they really need to be responsible for raising their kids, and the district's responsible for educating their kids. I don't know your circumstances. I know in a lot of charter schools, you see a charter school with a demographic identical population to a neighboring public school system outperforming. And some of it is that they have a lot of flexibility to do things outside of this big bureaucracy that we call the Clark County School District. And then within the district, again, those same examples exist because you have leadership in a school that supports the teachers and supports the agenda of the school, and basically finds workarounds to get through some of the policies that make it difficult for schools to function successfully. So I agree with your statement. And we have to hold students accountable to do the work. I'm going to put them further down the list because I really feel like too many adults in the equation don't want to take responsibility. They want to just focus on what their needs are, and nobody's really focusing on what the kids' needs are. And I've been to enough meetings now to say, I actually, it kind of makes me sick to my stomach that I listen to hours and hours of discussion about the adult in the room, and never do I hear anybody talk about the kid. What do we do about making sure that that child is prepared? And look, there's a lot of safety nets that we have to find ways to better tie them in to what the district's needs are. Because the district can't be all things to all people. So where we have some safety net services through nonprofits, we have to do a better job tying them in. I think they do, a lot of them do a good job, but we need to do more work there. So
Appreciate your comments. I have been led to believe that the legislature a few years ago had a law to divide the Clark County school system into multiple, to make it smaller school districts. What's become of that, and what would be your opinion of splitting it up into multiple smaller?
Yeah, so actually they weren't legislatively dividing it, but they were requiring that the budget control be pushed out to the principals. So this was part of that additional funding that occurred. So there's not been a legislative act to divide the Clark County School District that I know of. I mean, and I stay very close to it, but I can tell you that the budget issue was a problematic because the requirement for the additional funds was now the principals get to manage their budgets. So I could make an argument on both sides of that, and I heard arguments on both sides of it. I heard the administration say we cannot feasibly push a $2.5 billion budget out to 400 and some odd principals and let them individually manage that. You know, my cousin Jim will start doing the maintenance work on the lawn or the field. And so that was kind of their argument. The principals were saying, look, they don't want us to manage the budget. They just want us to manage all of the personnel and the headaches around it. Or they just want to tell us what our budget is and live with the services that we get. So there's an in-between, and this was in our Sage Commission report. The in-between is don't do either. Principals should not be managing facility staff. They shouldn't be managing transportation staff or food service staff. That's not their area of expertise, nor is it the best use of their time. So let them manage contracts. So I'm in banking. I had this debate with one of our legislators who was the chairman of the Education Committee in the Senate for a number of years. Like him a lot, Mo Dennis, really good guy. But Mo listened to this presentation of outsourcing essential business services management, not personnel, just management, to companies that have a core competency in those areas. And the response he got back, and he saw all the data that it works, it saves money, it improves service levels. His response was, why does the private sector always think they can do things better than the public sector? I said, it isn't a private public sector discussion. It's a core competency discussion. I wouldn't expect a retired teacher, and by the way, this has happened, to be able to go in and run a multi-$100 million a year budget transportation department. What experience do they have there? What tools do they have? Let the RTC manage that or competitively bid the management of that. And that was the model that Houston followed, that other districts have followed. By doing that, principals can manage contracts. So I'm responsible for a bank that's a $7.5 billion bank here in Nevada. We have technology needs for our staff. We have technology needs for our customers. I don't know the first thing about the people I need to hire for that or how to manage those people. So I hire that through a contract. There's a company that provides those services. The contract spells out the scope, the cost, and the standards. If they meet those, we're good. If they don't, I terminate the contract and I find somebody that does it. That's been the model that I've pushed, and I know others have pushed the district to take a look at. Unfortunately, it becomes a political issue. Well, the unions don't want to see that happen. I can honestly say the Clark County Education Association wanted to see it happen because the model said, take the savings on the business services side and put it back in the classroom, which I'm fine with. Hire more teachers, reward teachers that are high performers. So every once in a while we hit one where, some parties agree, but other parties don't. So we got to get the politics out of it and come back to that. I hate to oversimplify this, but does it improve student outcomes and how? And if you can get people to think in those terms, you start to take the politics out of it and the special interest out of it, and you really focus on what you should focus on is, how do I get these kids prepared for life out of school? Because a lot of them are failing miserably, and every year that goes by, they get further and further behind. And trust me, it's going to cost this community a whole lot more to deal with those kids when they become adults and they have no skills than if we just invest in them now. Yeah, so I avoided your question. I apologize. So I didn't. I used to not think that. I used to think that, I've seen districts like LA County, which divided up their district, and I saw how the haves and have-nots, the gaps got bigger. The more I've talked to people that actually know a lot more about this than I do, the more I've started to realize that there is a right and wrong way to do that, just like anything. And if you do it the right way, it's likely a better scenario than we have now because it's not so big and bureaucratic, and it's like turning the Titanic before it hits the iceberg. Right now, it's just too big. So yes, I'm starting to lean in that direction. That was exactly my first question to Jana when I called her, is that our direction we should go? And, cooler heads prevailed, and she said, no, I really think we need to understand better what the real problems are, all of them, by having a receiver come in and actually oversee that, kind of pushing the governor to put a bipartisan, apolitical receiver in position and let them work with the current leadership in the district and in the elected officials, the board and the elected officials in the legislature, and then come back and say, here's what's broken. And here's our plan. Here's what I would recommend we do to fix it. So that makes a lot more sense to me. And I think that's ultimately some variation of that is what the leadership in the business community will agree on, but with certain requirements. And I gave you like 1,000-foot view, but as we get down into the weeds, it's going to look a lot more different than what I just described. Yeah.
Hi, John.
Hi.
And I read that report, by the way. And if you remember back in 14-15, when Kim Wooden was the deputy superintendent and Pat Skorkowski, you, Hugh Anderson, Christensen were coming into the district. I'm actually the one behind the scenes who ran all of that for you guys. Growing up here, lifelong.
Thank you for reading the report, by the way. I feel so much better
I
than a year of my life, one person read it. Thank you.
I was a big part of those committees that were happening at that time, and I could not have been prouder. The business community is a huge part of the education community, and that was the first time ever that the business community was actually involved with the Clark County School District. Several committees, several meetings. All of you guys were involved in the business of the district, which I was so proud to see. I've ran into Christensen a couple times after that and said, what happened with that? Have you guys tried to do that same thing with subsequent superintendents? I was the right arm for the deputy superintendent at that time.
Yeah, so I mean, Glenn in particular goes back a decade plus, and he's been doing, or multiple decades. So he's been doing this probably with 5 or 6 superintendents. I've started working probably with Dwight Jones, or maybe just before Dwight, in earnest. I'd done a little bit of work outside of the district before that. And what happened, you kind of feel like the kid that just keeps banging their head against the wall, hoping that somebody will pay attention. And pretty soon you just have a really bad headache and nothing's really happened. So I can tell you that Glenn's still active, Hugh's still active, many others are still very active. But we're starting to lose faith that this is ever going to get fixed. So frankly, that was the reason for my call to Jana was, I don't know how to get this moving in the right direction. I know it's critically important, but we're kind of running out of time, because if we keep going on the same Ferris wheel again and again and again, we're going to not find a single person in this country, let alone a qualified person, that would take that superintendent job. And I'm not defending the superintendent, because he certainly had his flaws, as we all do. But frankly, it's a broken system. And that's the message here, is the system needs complete revamping. And people that are responsible for that system need to own up to that and be willing to fix it, or we're going to keep getting the same results in it. And frankly, it's getting worse. And I don't fault the teachers. Honestly, I think the teachers and principals are on the front line doing the best they can. We have bad teachers, we have bad principals, just like we have bad bankers and we have bad, anything else in this world. But the vast majority I've met are in this for the right reason. They want kids to improve. They want to see kids succeed. And it's an unappreciated job, frankly. I would love to see master teachers that make 50 grand more by being excellent teachers and sharing their best practices with junior teachers coming out of college that need some experience, but they have that mindset. They want to see kids improve, but they just are thrown into the deep end with no life preserver, and the sharks are in the water. They need more direction and support from these master teachers, and those teachers should be making a whole lot more money and not be forced out at 30 years to get their retirement. If they're eligible, get your retirement. And if you want to keep teaching, then let them keep teaching. I mean, I have a coworker whose wife was a principal from the only blue ribbon school in Clark County a couple of years ago, Goolsby, and she had 30 years. She had to retire in order to get her retirement. She would have continued to work. Why are we doing this? It's crazy. I mean, you got the most experienced people and you're forcing them out in order for them to get their retirement benefits. So there's just so many things that need to be done. And experts outside of education that can help them do it right. And the educators can then focus on the things that they're really experts in. So thank you for having me here. I'm happy to stick around and answer questions.
Okay. John, we're gonna give you a Rotary coin. It has our four-way test.
Just like Bitcoin?
Not at all. Not at all. It's better. It's better. It's 4 questions that guide our conduct. And then we also have something we call the Soul Power Award. It's where we give shoes to needy kids in one of the 6 schools, really underprivileged schools that we sponsor around the city.
That's
We're gonna take a quick picture. So thank you all for attending. Thank you, John, very much for your presentation. It was very informative. It was all that I hoped it would be. And with that, our meeting is adjourned. We'll see you next week. What do you think, huh?